Guys, it's Charlotte here. So I am starting my own YouTube channel here. I'm just beginning to learn how to weather trains, so I thought it might be interesting to kind of document my experience here. I know there's a lot of information out there, kind of different ways on how to do things, so it might be interesting to kind of learn together. I might be able to help some people and you guys might be able to help me a little bit. So go ahead and follow along to my journey, and if you have any tips and tricks for me, you can leave it in the comments. But here we go. Okay, so for our first weathering job, I am going to be doing a freight car. So I have chosen this chassis. It's a 6-bay cylindrical hopper. So as you can see, there it is in all its glory. So first thing that I am going to show you guys is some decals that I will be using. So I got these from Weathering Solutions. So I'm sure there's some other things out there, but that's where I got mine from. And then I will be also using some different weathering powders. So first off, I'm going to pull the trucks off. So as you can see, mine just had some little pins holding them on. Yours might have little screws in them, so in that case you need a screwdriver. So I'm just going to go ahead and start out doing a thin layer of dust here. So there's a couple of different colors that I'm going to be using. So right now I'm just kind of using a dirty brown color. Make sure when you are doing this, you're sweeping up and down, since that is the way that it would regularly be weathered in natural state. And then just make sure you're getting all those nooks and crannies as you go. Go ahead and do a dull coat now. So you can buy this in the hobby store. It's just like a little can of spray, so I just do a quick spray over it, and then I use a blow dryer to kind of quicken the process and help it dry a little bit. Okay, now that our first coat is done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another layer of chalk here. So again, with the up and down sweeping motions, making sure we're getting all the little nooks and crannies. Another dull coat over that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with some of these rust decals here. So one thing I did learn in doing this is we want to make sure we get our cuts close to the actual decal coloring itself. If you get it kind of farther away, then you do see a lot more of that clear film after you have it on your car. So just be aware of that. Try to get those cuts close. I did not do that on mine and regretted it later on, but that's just part of the learning process. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab some microsol, and we are going to go ahead and just brush that in the area that we are going to be doing our decal on. So we just want one thin coat on there. And I set my decal in some hot water for about 20 seconds. Let it get really moist, and then I just slid that film off of the paper bottom and onto my car. So you got to be careful doing this. You don't want to get it all bunched up or rolled up. They tend to roll easily if you're not too careful with it. So just slowly slide that off of there. And then you can use your fingers to kind of do any big movements that you need to, but when you're kind of trying to get the little air bubbles and that kind of thing out, you want to use a brush. Make sure you're getting all of that out and it's not moving too much on you. So you got to kind of find the right amount of pressure that you want on there, with getting enough to get the air bubbles out, but not too much that you're moving it around. So you go ahead and you can see there, I dipped my brush back in the microsol, got all the air bubbles out, and we have our first decal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and doing my second decal here. So same thing, making sure I get it on there straight. Going for the microsol again, going ahead and brushing all my air bubbles out, trying to get it on there as best as I can to lay flat against the car. And we will continue to repeat this process several more times with some other decals. Some smaller pieces of graffiti on there, so I started out with those rust spots, but now I'm just doing some extra little pieces of graffiti, make it look more realistic, like it's been in the yard for a while. Had some hoodlums painting it. Okay, so now that we have our graffiti on, I'm using a mixture of a dark rust color of paint and a little bit of water, and I'm doing a little bit of a wash over everything just to give it a darker wash for us. I also used a little bit of gray in there too in some spots, but the main color that I did use was a dark rust. So here I am using some dark rust colored acrylic paint. So I used that, mixed it with a little bit of water to lighten it up. And then I went ahead and went over with a wash. And then just to kind of even everything out, I went over again with a dry brush after I did the paint. I'm also using a little bit of gray paint in there just to kind of give it some depth and some different colors. So with this, I like to do a lot of the darker paint up at the top and then kind of bring it down with a dry brush, kind of just to spread the rust out and make it look a little bit more realistic. So here I'm just going around the top edges, just where there would be the most rust at, And I'm putting a little bit of that dark gray and a lot of that dark rust there at the very top just to make it like a little darker line. And then you'll see here a little bit, I'll go ahead and I'll bring that out with my dry brush again, but just to make it look a little bit more realistic for us. Just darkening up that rust at the top, especially I did not get the decal close enough to the top with the one, so that's just kind of fixing that issue that I had there. So it's important to remember with this also that the main thing with this is we want to do layers. So you can always put more on, but you can't always take it off. So just make sure you're doing layer by layer. It takes a little bit more time, but that extra effort's going to go a long way. Did do some extra spots there of rust along the edges, so not just at the top, so just like the car would have got damaged in usage. Pulled a little bit, did that same dark rust color, and then I pulled that down a little bit from that darker spot just so it makes sure it looks realistic, going back with that dry brush and pulling that down. Okay, so this is our finished product here. So this will conclude the first part of our weathering here. I will be putting out a second video kind of finishing off with the roof and the walkways up top and the ends and the trucks. So just kind of look forward for that be coming out soon. If you want to go ahead and like, subscribe, share this, and then please leave comments and tips and tricks in the bottom. I would appreciate that. We're all learning together, so go ahead and do that for me. And then I look forward to you guys coming back here and watching my next video. Thanks!